I've got a bit of an announcement to make, but it's on the personal front rather than the football front. I wasn't really sure how to do it, but I've sort of revealed my soul, if you like, on this channel so many times that I felt I sort of owed it to you to give you the sort of end net result, basically. So at the end of this video, I'm going to have a little discussion about mental health, about my mental health, and about the journey and diagnosis I've been on. Now, I do appreciate that this is not for everyone, so I'm keeping it very separate. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit at the end of this video and then tell you where we go from there. But on this video, and pretty much from henceforth on this channel, I only really want to be talking about football because I just think that the two don't mix too well. But I've had so many lovely messages from so many of you nice people who watch these videos over the years, and particularly since sort of 2019 from COVID, when things got a little bit messy in my personal life, let's put it that way, and particularly on my mental health, that I felt it's only fair to sort of share. I was going to say the conclusion of the journey, but what? Maybe the start of the journey. There you go. I never thought I'd use the word journey at all in something that didn't involve a motor car. Anyway, so today let's talk about this West Ham stuff now. Maximilian Hahn. Now, Maximilian Hahn, you may well remember, or you should know, we've spoken about him recently, actually, because he is the data analyst that was brought in under Tim Steidten to, I guess, do the number crunching, to do the Moneyball stuff, to look by using software and look at players who might be up and coming, maybe undiscovered talent from leagues that you wouldn't necessarily know about. I mean, funny enough, the other day we got linked with Endrick, right? Everybody knows about Endrick. This is not scouting, really. But I'll tell you what was scouting, and that was Malik Diouf. Now, this is really interesting where it comes to Maximilian Hahn, just because a matter of days ago, and I think Gio has done a video about it today, a number of days ago, Maximilian Hahn was credited with signing Malik Diouf. We discussed this last week, if you remember, and that's interesting just because it was previously accredited, that signing with Graham Potter and Carl McCauley. But as he started to develop and as he started to play well, it seemed that last week we're saying, oh no, hold on, that wasn't Carl McCauley and it wasn't Graham Potter. The person that scouted and identified Malik Diouf was Maximilian Hahn. Yeah, I'm not sure how much of that I believe. I don't know. I just find it very, very convenient. And I did make the joke in the review the other day, because Diouf had a bad game the other day, was he suddenly a McCauley and Potter signing again? I was just mucking around. But I don't know. We've had too much of this for too long at West Ham. Who has signed who? Quite frankly, I hate it. So I just want to park that for a minute and just want to say that this guy is highly thought of and he's highly regarded. I certainly know it was him that scouted Ezekiel Banzuzi. If you remember, we targeted him last January. And if you remember, Karen Brady went and tried to do the contract negotiation and botched it. And I think he moved to one of the Red Bull clubs, actually. Dutch midfielder, really good midfielder. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about Maximilian Hahn today is because ex-West Ham United employee has said there are a lot of clubs who are looking at him. German clubs, as Schalke was mentioned, but also Southampton and Blackburn Rovers. Now, the reason this is interesting is because they want to make him their director of football. That they feel, according to ex-West Ham United employee, that Maximilian Hahn can step into the director of football role. Now, we know about this because pretty much this is what we asked Carl McCauley to do. Carl McCauley was a data analyst, of course. That's what he was at Chelsea. That's what he was at Brighton. That's what he was at Swansea. That's what he was at Ostersund's. He was a data analyst. We brought him in and we asked him, basically, can you go and be the director of football? Now, just because that didn't particularly work out, and let's be fair, it's almost impossible to know whether McCauley was going to be any good or whether he was any good now, because now we're being fed misinformation that's sort of muddying the waters. I don't know. I was never a massive fan of bringing someone in who was unqualified for the job, but I think it's slightly different with Max Hahn because he was brought in under Steidten. He worked, he was either at Werder Bremen or Wolfsburg before, can't remember exactly which, doesn't overly matter, but he's done an apprenticeship in the Bundesliga. Highly regarded, came over to West Ham, and everybody is impressed with him. And as I understand it now, and I mentioned this the other day before this story had even come out, that I believe he reports directly now to David Sullivan and to Karen Brady on signings. But he was brought in by Steidten. And when Steidten left, so did Steidten's brother, Maurice Steidten. There's a lot of names being bandied around here. Basically, when the Steidten crew left or got sacked, Max Hahn's remained. Max Hahn stayed here. He'd certainly created an impression, and I guess he was smart enough to create enough of a separation between him and Steidten that he remained. So we find ourselves in this situation now, where we no longer have a director of football. And not only that, we no longer have the diluted role, which was given to Macaulay, which was head of recruitment. We don't have that either. What do we have? Well, we've got a manager, or we've got a head coach. We've got an owner in David Sullivan who likes getting involved in transfers. We have a preferred agent, I guess, in Will Salthouse recommending players. And as I don't know, this hasn't happened yet, so I'm talking about something that may happen, but hasn't. We have a preferred agent in George Mendes, who is Nuno Espirito Santo's agent of choice. I think at some point we've got to bite the bullet with this stuff, particularly with January coming up. And if George Mendes, because George Mendes got some excellent clients on his books, if we end up with a good George Mendes client who's just a bloody good player and he benefits West Ham, I don't think we can afford to be too fussy with this stuff at the moment. But we still need this infrastructure, this thing that gets thrown out every time we change manager. I hate it. I think it shows West Ham up to be the very worst, because we're terrible at this stuff. How many times have we set up a new scouting system, a new recruitment construct, only to see it thrown out when a manager leaves? It doesn't matter whether it's Huselos, it doesn't matter whether it's Tony Henry, Rob Newman, Steidten himself, Macaulay. I've just reeled off 4 or 5 names there. I shouldn't be able to do that. And these are recent. This is since we've been at the new stadium, for goodness sake. This shouldn't be that high a turnover of these people who are really integral and very, very important to us bringing in players, buying and selling players, which is such an important part of a football club. I don't know. I think I was a little bit disturbed maybe when I heard this rumour. West Ham's chief data analyst, Maximilian Hahn, is being headhunted by a number of clubs, according to ex-West Ham United employees. Several German sides, including Schalke, see Hahn as someone who can step into the sporting director role. I thought, not another one. Now, I don't know. I think I may be just programmed to not want to lose anyone else from West Ham. So I think my immediate response is, don't lose him. Give him what he wants. But you can't keep doing that with everybody. What I would say is, I think he is valued at West Ham. But it is probably frustrating for him. Here's the narrative. It wasn't just Juff. It was Juff and Matías Fernandes who he was credited with bringing in. I don't know about Magassa yet. I don't know if he was credited with it. But Macaulay and Potter were credited with bringing in Mads Hermansen. Are we to honestly believe that the only person they brought in was Mads Hermansen in the summer? I find that hard to believe. Basically, I'm suggesting there's a load of old guff that comes from the club at the moment, and I do not believe in it. I'm not even sure that this story's come from the club. Let's say that. I think the club have gone up. They have shut up shop. But there's nothing. They're not speaking to anyone. They're not speaking to websites. They're not speaking to newspapers. They're not speaking to journalists. They're saying nothing, right? So I don't know, right? But there is a tendency to think, let's keep this guy. And what I would say is, if what we're hearing is true, that actually Juff and Fernandes were his picks, I would then suggest he's being backed. I mean, to quite a large extent. So 35 million for Fernandes, I think. 20 million for Juff. I'll do your maths for you if you want. That's 55 million. That's back. That's being backed. If you are the chief data analyst and you say, get this guy and get this guy, and the club back you, that you can't ask for more than that. Well, I guess you can ask for more wages. But I assume the club would be doing that anyway. One of West Ham's problems, well, West Ham have got a lot of problems. Paying big wages ain't one of them. We often pay people, in a lot of cases with a lot of players, far more than they're worth. Yes, Guido Rodriguez on £100,000 a week. Crazy. Danny Ings. Anyway, we don't need to go into all that now. This is Steidten's replacement. This is what it appears to be. Do I think it should be this way? No. I think after Steidten, we should have gone and got another proper director of football. We should have gone and done what Sunderland did. But once you accept that that has not happened, once you accept West Ham, the people running West Ham ain't got a Scooby-Doo, then you've got to start acting and thinking realistically with this stuff, which means this probably is the guy. Max Hahn is the guy. And if he is the guy, then I would suggest that we've got to do everything we can to keep hold of him. And there you go. That's what I think about that. Right. Anyway, so you can, if you're here for the football, that's it. I'll catch up with you tomorrow. For those of you that have stuck around since the start of the video, I don't really know how to say this. So I mentioned it before. There's been quite a lot going on. So I started up probably 4 months ago. It's been going on a little while now. I'd been made aware because of some mental health issues, and a few people have pointed out that I might be ADHD. Now, I've got to say, I've never been a great one until I actually started getting bad anxiety, and until I got depression a while back. I was never really someone that believed in it, if I'm honest. I was that guy. Just get on with it. Sometimes you feel crap, sometimes you feel good. It wasn't until I really started suffering with high anxiety that I actually believed it, and I was forced to sort of live it, and I had anxiety to such an extent. I actually had agoraphobia at one point. I honestly couldn't go out of the house. Horrendous stuff. I did videos at the time, and very much sort of laid bare my soul on here, and as I've done on a number of occasions. And I felt so much support from people on here. It's incredible, by the way. I mean, absolutely incredible. To the point, I wouldn't have been able to recover as well as I have done without it, without the kind words, and without just so much support, which has been absolutely brilliant. But so I think after that, when it pointed out I might be ADHD, I had firstly, I didn't believe it. Then I started looking a little bit more into it, and I thought, okay, well maybe that's it. And I thought, actually, is it, if I am, is it a problem? Is everybody just given a label these days? All that stuff occurred to me, and I, as I say, I was that guy. I thought, I can be a bit hyperactive. There's a lot of things. Do I struggle with concentration? There was a lot of other things as well. Struggle with sleep. Lots of stuff which I'm not overly going to go into now. But anyway, as it transpired, I started on the road of trying to discover whether I was ADHD or not. Did my tests, got my referral from the doctor, did my right to choose, had 2 separate assessments, had my meeting, had my appointment, and then a couple of weeks ago, funny enough, I was here when I did the final one to get my to get rubber stamped, if you want. And here I was I wrote, this is how disorganised, this is how ADHD I am. I actually wrote my notes on my instruction booklet from the lights that basically illuminate this. So yeah, I got told, yes, I am indeed ADHD. But I got a bit of a surprise as well, because it was something I wasn't expecting. So what I didn't realise is, whilst they're testing you for this stuff, while you're having your assessments, while you're having your appointments, whilst you're doing all this stuff, and you have to get not just referrals from your doctors, people that know you are interviewed as well. It's stuff from your childhood, and it's very, very extensive. I didn't realise at the time that I was also being assessed for autism. I didn't have a clue. So the guy says to me, "You are ADHD," and hold on, where is it? It was ADHD combined. So you are combined ADHD, right? So And he said, you've also scored 6 out of 10 for autism. And I thought, what? What do you mean? And, by the way, I don't seem to. It's like I can't even count or anything like that. So it's not like I'm going to a casino and do the card counting and stuff. Anyway, well, I don't know what version I got. So I'm exploring this at the moment as well. So I'm now heading in that direction with it. So anyway, I just thought I would basically let you know. And what I am going to do is I'm going to be sharing this in more detail, but I'm not going to be doing it on this channel. I'm going to do it on a completely separate channel. But the reason I'm going to do it is because I've had so many people. Every time I mention I'm struggling, every time I say I've struggled with anxiety, every time I say anything to do with that, I get a load of messages from people. And there's definitely people want to discuss this. Now, I'm doing nothing but learning, right? I'm the very opposite of an authority on this. I don't know. I didn't even know that I had this stuff. I just thought I was just someone in life who had their struggles, and that was it. I've never thought anyone found any of this stuff easy in life. And particularly, more recently, I just thought everybody sort of struggled to concentrate. I just thought everybody had a million things going on in their mind. I thought everybody lied on a pillow and ding, and had their eyes open and couldn't sleep. And all these, there's a lot of other things that are associated with it. And there's a lot of stuff. I'm just going to say one here. Threat demand cycle. That was written on, and that was right. Anyway, so all this thing going on, and so much of it made sense. That very much spoke to me, and the person I spoke to seemed to have a good understanding of the way my mind worked and the way that I'm so useless at so many of the things I am actually useless at. So I thought I would probably chart this journey, and I wanted to sort of share it with the people that had shown an interest in it. So what I'm going to do is just keep your eyes peeled. I'll be doing something else. I'm going to be doing a little diary channel of it, basically. And for those of you that are interested, for those of you that want to sort of follow that process as I learn and go through this sort of diagnosis, and I guess learn more about myself and learn how to use these cognitive therapies, I believe they're called, to try and deal with this stuff, a lot of this stuff that I struggle with, then you'd be very, very welcome to join me on that journey. And I also feel it doesn't muddy the waters on this channel when I'm speaking about football and stuff like that. And someone said, why don't you put it on your pinball channel? I don't think that's going to work too well either, really. But anyway, there you go. Hopefully I've not... I don't know. I hope I haven't offended anybody by saying anything, but I have. It's just what's happened at the moment, and yeah, there you go. So yeah, my mind races around at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I've had quite a lot to absorb in the last little while. So anyway, there you go. I've waffled on for another 18 minutes. So I'll let you know at some point, maybe next week. I'll put the channel up there or whatever. I'll get a thumbnail up there. I don't know what I'll call the channel, but it'll be something else. It's not going to be anything massive. It'll just be a way to sort of chart my journey on that as a little archive for people. And yeah, maybe we can get some other people on there having a chat about it. And yeah, really sort of... I am aware, by the way, if someone wants to point this out, that there is that Alan... I don't want it to be all Alan Partridge. That Alan Partridge, how are you? Which I don't know if you've seen that. It's very funny. Anyway. Thanks for your time. Thanks for indulging me. Thanks for watching. And yeah, I guess we'll be back talking about Tim Steidten, Max Hahn's. I was going to say Hula Lopetegui, not him. Nuno Espirito Santo. The West Ham ownership, something like that tomorrow. I'll catch up with you then.